this whole process, this whole thing today is conceptually the process of fat loss. People put into a category of like just either nutrition or fitness. They just put it strictly in calorie reduction, and that is definitely a big part of the equation. But that's why we call it the process of fat loss, because there's a lot of things that need to come together in your life. One, to sustain, to create fat loss, and two, to sustain that weight loss that you get. So that's why this thing's got a lot of good questions. This is really the way we're building our business. We're kind of rebranding our business as a fat loss facility. That's our main goal. We're putting everything in place to make it consistently that mantra. And this is the way we're going to start attacking, as you see up on our igloo up there. I always say igloo, iceberg up there. That we have 5 pillars of fat loss that we're going to talk about as we go along. And really, it's only been like really fitness focused so far, but we're going to start branching out to the other pillars to make sure that fat loss is consistent. So thank you guys for coming. I know there's a lot of fans on, so I'm going to try to keep my voice as loud as possible for you guys. And also it's raining outside, so there's a lot of exterior noises. If you got questions as I go through this today, please just raise your hand in the moment and ask it right away. I get sidetracked a little bit with some different ideas. I love to talk about health and nutrition and like that. So I try to stay on track, but if I'm going to answer your question moving forward, I'll say, okay, I'm going to answer that on the next slide or something. But if it doesn't have to be the next slide, I'll make sure I answer it before, right? Nate, would you mind shutting that just for a minute, just to bring down the noise a little bit? All right, so guys, today is our seminar. It's called How to Lose 40 Pounds in a Year the Right Way. So the reason we say 40 pounds is, I'll show you the calculations, but I don't believe for the average person losing more than 40 pounds in a year is really feasible to be able to maintain that weight loss. So you guys have probably seen people that have lost 100 pounds on keto in a year. About a year and a half later, you see them and they put 85 pounds on, right? So realistically, not that somebody couldn't lose more than 40 pounds in a year to be right. I'm just saying, like, based on the statistical numbers, 40 pounds is about the maximum I think that's able to do in 1 year as a standard. But let's say you want to lose 80 pounds, cool, it's a year, right? If you don't want to lose 65 pounds, it'll be as a year and a half roughly, right? So this just gives you a way to really figure out what it takes to get there, at the same time showing you how manageable it is. And as you can see up here, we call it the right way. There are lots and lots of ways to lose weight. Honestly, like, I could probably get every single one of you to lose 30 pounds in the next 30 days. It's probably not a real doubt in my mind that you did that. However, after those 30 days, you'll probably put 32 pounds back on. Because we can do a lot of manipulation, like the keto diet, where you manipulate carbs and deplete all carbs in your body. Then all of a sudden, once you start eating carbs, your weight drastically shoots back up. So that's one way we can get there. Another way we can get there is we can put you on like something like an ideal protein or something like a medical weight loss program, where you just eat pretty much like created foods for a couple months and you'll lose weight like that, but the weight will come back on. So there's a lot of ways to lose weight. We're trying to teach you what's the right way in our mind, meaning how do I actually lose weight and maintain that weight loss forever. I think the struggle for most people, I don't know if all you in this category, is you've probably lost weight in your life. You've probably got a period where you've lost 20, 30, maybe even more pounds, right? I've lost 50 pounds like 4 times in my life. Maybe more than that. I can't even keep track of it. And I always come back to putting back on, because forever in my life, I've always tried to figure out how to get there the fastest. And realistically, it's awesome. I'm very disciplined. I can do that. However, I never created really good habits to keep that there, right? So then that weight over a year or two would come back on slowly, sometimes drastically, right? It would come on quickly, and then I'd be right back to square one. It just gets really annoying. So because of that, and I've had so much experience with weight loss in my life, and working with a bunch of clients, I started to figure out, like, what is really the right way to do this? What's the process to actually achieve it, right? How do you actually get from, like, let's just call it 40 pounds. I'm going to use 40 pounds as our number. I create a number and I just want to go with that number. So 40 pounds a year. So how do I go from needing 40 pounds to lose, and in 12 months, what are the steps that would take for me to actually achieve that? And by the end of that, have enough muscle mass, enough good habits to maintain that higher, that my metabolism will have a higher calorie burn, I'll be able to achieve that weight loss. Does that make sense? That's kind of what we're going through today. Can everybody hear me fine? Okay, good. And if I'm not being loud enough, please, we can always turn off fans. Now you guys might start cooling down here, but we can turn off fans too if we need to get a little bit louder. So, how to lose fat loss in 40 pounds in a year. Okay, so we're going to play a little game called raise your hand. Okay, raise your hand if losing weight is a goal of yours. Keep it up. Keep it up. Now, if I told you you could lose, I'm going to say 40 pounds for everything. However, whatever your goal is, I don't want to lose 10 pounds, I'll lose whatever the goal is, 5 pounds, whatever. It's the same idea. I'm just going to say 40 for the So, 40. If you could lose 40 pounds in 1 month, keep your hand up if you'd be cool with that. A bunch of you guys aren't cool with it. That's okay. Hey, keep it up. Keep it up if you think that you'd be cool if you could lose 40 pounds in a month, or whatever that goal is. All right? Now, would it be cool if you could lose that 40 pounds in a year? Keep that hand up if you'd be cool with that. All right. Now, how about if you lose 40 pounds in 1 month, but gain 65% of it back, right? So you gain, let's say, 25 pounds back. Or your goal, you lose in 1 year, you would lose all your weight in 1 year, but you keep it all. Which one would you rather? So if you would be okay with losing that but gaining 65% back, right? Raise your hand if you would be okay with that, right? Okay, nobody has their hand raised. Everybody on camera, nobody has their hand raised. That's probably good. Now, if you could do it in 1 year, right? Raise your hand. You'd be happy to keep it up forever, right? I think most people would. So conceptually, the whole idea behind that is we always say we aren't okay with losing weight. We're okay as long as I get rid of the 40 pounds. I don't care how long it takes. And then you go into this drastic thing. It's like, I gotta lose 20 pounds, 20 days. Or I go like 3 weeks. I haven't lost a single pound. I haven't lost a single pound. But you told me a year is okay. Why does 3 weeks matter? Because you have to build these habits over time, and our body is like a fire. And conceptually, like the fire is really low, and then as we throw logs on it, we throw these habits on it, and we keep throwing these habits on it, that fire gets stoked, and that fire gets stoked, and that fire gets stoked. When we throw some gasoline on it, all of a sudden that boom, right? So as these habits start to go, they start adding up, we get this huge fire burning. But if you guys have ever made a fire, it doesn't start off that way. It takes a little bit for that fire to start going, right? So everybody always wants super fast results very quickly. And we fall into that trap as a gym, meaning like we've done things to help you guys lose weight quickly because we know people are so impatient. And like if I can get them engaged in losing 10 pounds in 21 days, then I got them hooked and I can help them lose the other 30 pounds they need to. However, unfortunately, it's done the reverse for us over the years, is people get so excited, I can lose 10 pounds in 21 days, I'm going to lose 40 pounds in 3 months then. Otherwise, I'm not satisfied and I quit on myself. So we're trying to reinvent what that looks like, right? We're trying to say, in a sense, it's our fault, one way. It's the fitness industry's fault saying that's realistic. Because it is realistic to lose the weight, but it's not actual body fat. And we want to change the agenda of what it looks like and how we actually do it over a long, long period of time. Like we talked about, most of you guys have probably been through that nutrition journey enough where you're like, yeah, I've tried to lose 40 pounds a month, I lost it, I gained all back. I definitely don't want to do that again. That's good, that's exciting that people are starting to think a little bit more about that, but they also probably don't trust themselves enough to lose 40 pounds a year because they haven't been consistent enough in their lifestyle to be able to do that and keep that up, right? And that's what we're going to talk about today. There's not a secret. Actually, I do have one secret for you guys. You know the secret, but in my mind, it's the secret. I do have one secret for you guys today. However, outside of that, everything else that we talk about today, you know it. I'm just going to play it out in a right plan for you on how to stack it together and get that fire stoked and really going over time to be able to consistently get that weight change over a long period of time. So there's nothing that's going to be super new to you guys, but it's going to be things like, oh, I know that. Now let's go ahead and follow through with the things we know, okay? So the first thing we have to think about today is we are a fat loss facility, not a weight loss facility. And those are two different things. So the reason we say the word fat loss is fat loss doesn't mean that the scale's always going to, you okay? I knew that chair, that one was eventually going to go, Nate, so. You're okay, we just want to move up to that one. We're good. Those things started to cave after a while, so we just need to, I was talking about it the other day, we might need to get rid of that couch. Okay, so in terms of that, so we are a weight loss facility, we are a fat loss facility, not a weight loss facility. So if you guys all did your in-body scan or have done it recently, right? When we look at that, I don't really care about that number that says weight. That means diddly squat to me. The body fat pounds, that's what matters to us. Our goal is, let's say you weigh, I'm going to use 200 pounds as an example. Let's say you weigh 200 pounds. I get you to lose 40 pounds of fat, right? So that would take you roughly in your mind to 160 pounds. But you actually on the scale weigh 175. You're like, oh crap, I didn't lose 40 pounds. You lost 40 pounds of fat, which means your body looks incredible, but you gained 15 pounds of muscle. That's really important to maintain that balance. Just losing body fat, realistically, isn't enough. You have to gain muscle, and that doesn't mean getting yoked and big and stuff like that. It just means putting muscle, lean muscle, tissue, that kind of stuff, so your body can keep burning. Because every pound of fat our body burns or every pound of muscle, our body burns 96 more calories every single day because we have 1 more pound of muscle in our body. So the more pounds of muscle in, we get more calories. We get to burn more calories burning our body. So we really think about that fat loss philosophy, not the weight loss. So yeah, we use the weight as a nice little thing we do quickly. However, that's why we use the InBody. So the InBody gives us actual, measurable results that show that the weight really doesn't matter. Most of you guys that have lost weight with us in the past, people that have lost weight with us in the past, they've been using the InBody, they start to see, holy crap, like, wow, I only lost like 2 pounds, but I lost 7 pounds of body fat. But they gained muscle too. Like, that's awesome. Like, but you have to see that on the thing to do it. Because instantly they're mad at their scale at home. I only lost 2 pounds. I feel so good. My clothes fit good. Why isn't it feeling good? Dorothy, you've been through this, right? Yeah. Like all of a sudden, like it looks. The scale does not say what you feel. You step on the InBody. Oh, there's the fat loss. So we want to make sure we think about that fat loss first. The second part is healthy eating versus fat loss. So today we are going to talk about fat loss and fat loss only. But fat loss and healthy eating aren't always the same thing. And this is what I mean by that. So, you guys have probably heard of all the old things, but if I eat in moderation, it's okay, right? Moderation is awesome for healthy eating. Moderation is horrible for fat loss. Honestly, you have to be pretty strict to achieve fat loss. Moderation does us no good. Because if I'm moderate about everything, I'm not achieving any goals. So when we're talking about, when I say, hey, you should eat more fruits than vegetables, if I say that, which I am going to say that, you should eat more fruits than vegetables, you're like, oh no, but I always heard healthy eating. We aren't healthy eating. We are looking for fat loss. Fruit helps with, we'll get into that, but fruit helps with insulin levels, as well at the same time, it helps with micronutrient density, which allows us to actually burn more body fat. Whereas vegetables, they might have more fiber, however, they're hard to digest, and our body doesn't absorb many nutrients, and it actually slows down the process of fat loss. So, which is probably new to all you guys in that sense. However, we are only talking about this category, okay? So we gotta make sure we keep ourselves in that lens. That lens is very important to make sure that you aren't getting confused on what we're talking about, okay? And please ask questions about those things as we go along. I do have a myth category that I have written up here. I don't have every myth I've ever thought of. I do have some myths that we're gonna talk about. They're on your sheet as well. So we'll talk about some of those as we go along. All right, so this is what we believe in at GCP, the process of fat loss. So the process of fat loss is the conceptual side that we design on what do you need to achieve fat loss and maintain that over a long, long period of time, okay? So, on this we have the 3 foundations. The foundations are really important because if you don't have the foundations of why you're doing what you're doing, trying to achieve fat loss, you have to have that base idea of why I want to achieve fat loss before you can ever actually achieve fat loss. So the 3 things we're going to go through is your why, self-awareness, and discipline, okay? Without those 3, you'll never achieve it. You can have these 5 pillars going, but without those 3, you'll never achieve it. And you should have that, that's on your process fat loss on the side there. Those are what we have listed there. So the first one, your why. You have to come up with a reason, a compelling reason why you want to achieve fat loss. Here's an example. So I want to lose 20 pounds. Okay, I want to lose 20 pounds. Why? Because my doctor said I need to lose it. That's pretty much it, right? That's not really compelling. Your doctor said it, but you really don't have a lot of stake in that. I heard a client say this the other day, and I thought this was a very compelling reason to do it. She's a teacher, and she has this big closet of clothes that she's bought over the years, and over time she's gained a little bit of weight. And she's like, honestly, the reason I want to lose 10 pounds is because I want to go shopping in my closet again. I want to go shopping in my closet for the clothes that I bought at one time that I felt really comfortable, I felt good in, I felt great going to school in these clothes, but now I have to keep buying larger sizes, and the size I grab something out doesn't fit right? It meant something personally to her to actually lose weight. It meant enough that every time she looks in her closet, she can say, this is why I'm doing that. This is why I'm working at that. It's very important for me to know, or for you to know, why you are working at this. It has to be more than just 20 pounds. 20 pounds is a number, it's very erroneous. We talked about it a second ago, fat loss versus muscle. I have no idea how much weight you lose. I have no idea, I'm an expert in this. I have no idea what my ideal body weight is until I achieve something that's very close, and that's probably not even the number I think it is. I might say my ideal body weight is 210, and realistically, when I get to 210, I might have gained some muscle, it might be 215, right? So we have no idea what the number is. But we can know what the feeling is, or what really drives us to want to be there, right? Examples that I've heard from the past is like, my daughter's getting married in a year from now. I have a certain outfit I want to wear, and I want to feel really attractive in that outfit. I want to feel comfortable in my own skin while in the outfit at my daughter's wedding. That's a compelling reason. A reason that every day when you wake up and you decide, oh crap, I'm gonna have, we eat a donut, most people probably eat donuts, but have a donut for breakfast, or I'm gonna make myself some eggs. It's like that dress, I can keep that dress somewhere I can see it, or I can keep that image in my head, a compelling reason to do it, right? So you gotta sit down and figure out, why do you really wanna lose whatever the weight is, right? And that reason is really important to you. It's not really important to anybody else but you. You don't have to explain to anybody else why your reason for that is, but you have to figure out what their reason is. And you have to be really committed to that reason. And if you find as you're going through the process of trying to lose weight, if you find that that thing's not holding you to the fire, meaning that why isn't really strong enough, you need to sit down again and figure it out. What I always tell people is when they keep failing on their diet, they don't have a why that's strong enough to work, right? They don't have something that's like compelling enough that when I go out for friends for dinner, I'm saying, hey, I'm not, like we ate Mexican last night, choosing why I am not, we did not eat the salsa chips at all because our goals are bigger than that moment, that instant satisfaction, right? I want it more than that. That salsa chip will mean nothing to me tomorrow, but that weight, that energy I put towards the day and working towards my goals meant the world to me, okay? So you have to make sure, is it big enough for you to really chase? Most people really don't have a big enough why, or they really don't know what the big enough why is. Everybody has it. They just don't really know what it is. You take your time to figure out, very important. And if you don't, you literally can't do anything else until you start there, to be honest. Like, you have to start there. Then, self-awareness is the next thing. So now I have to be self-aware of where I fit inside of that why. So meaning like, so this is my why, this is what I have to achieve. I need to be aware of what are the things I'm doing in my life that don't fit with that why. So let's use the example of I want to lose 40 pounds. I'm a person that goes out to eat 3 times a week because I love to do it socially with friends. We go out to eat with friends all the time. So that socially going out to eat with friends probably doesn't really fit on my why of 40 pounds. I'm probably not going to achieve it if I go out to eat 3 times a week. So, but that doesn't mean I can't be social with my friends anymore. I gotta sit down and say, hey, my why is big enough that I want to tell my friends, hey, let's meet at your house. Let's do something, let's play games at your house. Or let's go for a walk together. Let's do something that's not food related. Let's not eat out this week. My goal is big enough. I actually had another client that worked with Nutrition 101, and I had her, she was struggling because she's in the summer, and her friends want to go out to eat all the time. And I said, well, tell your friends what your goals are. They won't make you drink if they tell you, well, I don't think they will. Like, just try it. So one weekend, she came in after the week and she said, Trevor, I talked to my friends and I said, hey, my goals are really important to me and I really want it. And all of her friends stuff like, oh, that's awesome. What are your goals? Right? And instantly, they completely changed their perspective, their lens they were looking through, knowing that she had bigger goals than that. Her friends were way on board. If your friends aren't on board with your goals, honestly, they're probably not your friends, realistically. Because they should be on board with what you want to do. Because they're your friends. They're supporting you. They're your support system. And if they're not your support system, they're not supporting you, then realistically, you probably shouldn't spend as much time. That's me being like, that's just who I am personally. I don't want to surround myself with people that don't believe in me and don't believe in what I want to do. So you have to make those judgments. But I have to be self-aware of all the things going in my life that might not work towards my why. And I have to be okay with the fact that if that's really important to me, giving up some of those things I don't, or start working on other components, right? Like let's say I drink a glass of wine every single night. Probably doesn't work towards fat loss. So now can I start to change my life so I drink 1 time a week? Choices we make, right? Discipline. Pretty simple. Like no matter what, we can design that perfect plan, and you'll never accomplish it without discipline, right? You have to follow through with the things that you say you're going to do. Every plan, the perfect plan executed horribly is pointless. A horrible plan executed every single day is still going to get you better results than that perfect plan never executed on, right? Or executed on 1 time a week. So you have to be disciplined enough to the goals that you set. That doesn't mean we have to create this crazy, strict routine that you have to be like, I have to be on point all the time. We have to create something that I'm going to hold myself accountable to. Then from there, we have our 5 pillars that we believe in. So the one pillar everybody's pretty familiar with that works out here is going to be exercise, right? And most people come in our door saying, that's the solution. I don't exercise enough. And exercise, I love it. Absolutely love exercise for many, many, many reasons. But it's my thing that makes me happy during the day. When we work out, me and Erica work out together every day. Like when we work out, we feel good. That's awesome. That's great to have. However, I've exercised 6 times a week for years. And in my life, I've always had issues with weight up and down. It's because I many times in my life, only cared about that one pillar, when realistically my other 4 pillars were struggling. One pillar by itself is no good. All 5 pillars really have to be together, right? So we're going to talk about our Keystone Habits in a second, which fit into each pillar, so I'm not going to go through each habit on these. But just a heads up, exercise is super important, but it's not the end all be all, it's just one of the equations. I do think that everybody that wants really good fat loss has to strength train. If you're a client here, you know what strength training means. We're using weights, we're moving. In our training, this is strength training. Regardless of what day you come, it's strength training. This is what strength training is, resistance-based training. You have to put on muscle. Muscle doesn't come without strength training, period. You have to put on muscle to make sure you maintain fat loss. The other part is you have to move consistently 6 to 7 days a week. And movement could be Fitbit following 15,000 steps a day. That's movement, right? 15,000 steps is good movement. I think 10,000 is like the bare minimum. 15,000 is good movement. That means I'm getting my body moving consistently. 30-minute walk a day is awesome for weight loss. Absolutely incredible for weight loss. If I can do 3 GCP workouts a week and did 4 days of walking, you would have incredible results. Running fit in that category, biking, swimming, all those things are good. It doesn't always have to be gym-based. I think gym-based really only needs to be 3 days a week, but you have to do 3 days of strength training, otherwise I don't think you'll actually end up with really, really good results. Stress management. This is a category everybody wants to completely ignore because it's like, oh, I can't manage my stress. I'll be honest, it's probably the hardest thing to manage out of all of the 5 pillars. It is manageable. You are able to control the controllables. I talk about this a lot to people, is control the controllables. The controllables are things that you can impact. If you know you can impact, you have control. That helps you keep your stress levels down. It's when you worry about the uncontrollables. My boss called this meeting last minute. Oh crap, that's uncontrollable. You can't control your boss calling a meeting. You shouldn't stress about it. We don't need to worry about it. You can't control the uncontrollable. I can't worry about if the weather is going to be bad today. We have no control over that. We have no control how the driver next to us is going to drive in their car. All we can do is control how we react to that. Oh, they might be in a hurry to run to get to the hospital. Their kid might have a sick kid or something. You have no idea what's going on. All you gotta do, you gotta get yourself in the mindset. Mindset is what I consider is stress management. If I can control what's going on up here, my stress level instantly comes down here because I'm the only one to control this. Nobody else can control that. So that's what we talk about when we talk about stress management. For us, we talk about breathing and things like that, but it's really that how do you control your mind at all times? The more control I'm in this, the better chance I have to keep my stress level low. Sleep. This sleep is probably a hidden secret. You guys know it's not a secret, but you guys know most people just don't really take it seriously. Sleeping 7 hours a night or more. I mean, ideally 8 is really that sweet spot, but it's up and down. Depends on your lifestyle stuff. But 7 minimal. Being in bed for 7 hours of sleep is really, really important to fat loss and energy and lots of other things. You probably have enough less caffeine if you sleep a lot. So creating a good sleep about nutrition today. But being on point with your nutrition 7 days a week, right? We can't do the 5 days a week good, 2 days a week bad. Because every person that does that doesn't get any results, right? If you work out awesome Monday through Friday, but the weekend I suck. I haven't lost a pound in like 6 months. Weekend, right? Like you did awesome. Like 5 days doesn't make up for 2 days, of course. You have to be 7 days. It doesn't mean you have to be perfect, but you have to be very, very accountable to your nutrition for 7 days a week. You can't hunt 2 days a week, right? The calorie deficit idea that we're going to talk about in a little bit is you have to have enough calorie deficit. And if on the weekends, if I burn through all that calorie deficit, let's say I'm 1,000 calories over my goals on Saturday and Sunday. Well, that's 500 extra, that's 1,000 total calories extra I have on that day, or 2,000 calories extra that day. 1,500 calories burns a pound of fat. 3,500 calories burns a pound of fat. So that means that I actually I am a long ways away from losing 1 pound. So you can't every single weekend be bad. You actually have to be good every single weekend with an occasional bad meal from time to time, okay? So nutrition is important 7 days a week, not 5 days a week. And that doesn't mean it has to be perfect. And I want to make sure we're not talking about perfection. Because this is not the perfect program, meaning like it's not like you don't have to be perfect on this. However, it's accountable to like, here's an example that all of you probably know. You have to Wednesday, you're killing it. Wednesday, I'm feeling good. I had a bad lunch on Wednesday. My boss wanted to go out to eat. I had a bad lunch. Oh crap, I ruined it. I'll start again on Monday. What's Wednesday? Wednesday, you have a lot of days you're going to eat bad for. You'll never, you almost set yourself back 3 weeks of progress because you're going to put so many calories in that you have to burn over the next 3 weeks to make that deficit up. So you want to make sure that you don't have bad days. You might have a bad meal and you're on from there. You're moving on, you're moving on, you're moving on. And lifestyle. Lifestyle is when we talk about that social setting that I just talked about a minute ago. How do I sort of audit my life that I live my life in a lifestyle of living a healthy, sustainable life, right? So a healthy, sustainable life, exercise is one of those components. Being active with your family is another one of those components. Like maybe on weekends, instead of us on Sundays, we always go out for a big great lunch. Like, let's go for a walk on Sunday. Let's go for a bike ride on Sunday. Let's go for a hike. I mean, you can't really hike a lot around here. But let's go for something that's active, changing your lifestyle. My social setting, we always go out to eat and we drink every like one time a week. Let's start to change it. Let's go axe throwing instead. Let's do things with family and friends. We gotta start changing the way we live in this world. That's an unhealthy way. I can guarantee every one of you can tell me one thing you do unhealthy that you probably could audit out of your life right away. And you probably don't want to give it up. And that's the difference. Like, I love to do that. However, your why has to be important, right? So when you're measuring that against your why, does it set you back from your why? If you're a person that goes, your friend about to drink, you just drink water the whole time, there's nothing wrong with that, right? Going out for dinner each night, you just have like maybe you eat before you go out, you drink water with them while they drink and eat. Awesome. That's nothing wrong with that social setting. However, if you're sitting there drinking with it, you're telling me your why is not that important. Your lifestyle has to be audited to fit that. So those are our things, and that equals sustained results, right? Doing all those things together creates sustained results. So this is what we call the roadmap. This is not a perfect roadmap for everybody. And so I don't have this on there. This is our roadmap for our one-on-one training. Like, I'm going to show this to you. You're more than welcome. If you want to snap a picture of it, that's fine. This is our one-on-one training. This is how we put people through our one-on-one nutrition program. This is how it works, okay? So this is really what I call our secret sauce in a sense. And we're more welcome to have it in terms of taking a picture of it. But in terms of that, this is what we believe in to achieve 40 pounds of weight loss in a year. This isn't perfect, meaning like, this is what I start as a framework, and every individual fits inside of that framework. Let's say you are amazing at drinking water. You're really good at drinking water, and that's never been an issue. We don't worry about habit number 2. And I'll walk through this in a second. We don't worry about certain things. We move on from those and we add a new habit in place. But we do have a plan on how to, you have to do these specific things in your diet to have a healthy diet, right? To make sure that you're sustaining it over a long period of time. So I'm going to go through this real quick. So every person in month 1, we always say we want to start out with working out, right? You got to get in the habit of creating a healthy lifestyle. I think adding fitness to your life is a healthy lifestyle. That's the first. That's the fire that gets things going, right? I'm now around a community of like-minded people that are chasing after a very specific goal, and that's to improve their life, regardless of it's weight loss, strength gain, whatever. They want to improve their fitness life. I think you have to get surrounded by those people and great coaches that can help motivate you and push you along that path. So that's why we always say we got to get in the habit of training 3 times a week. Strength training. I say at GCP, obviously for our business, but just strength training, right? You have to get focused on putting the work in. Most of you guys here are clients at GCP. You guys know what that's like to all of a sudden create a routine you never worked out before, and now all of a sudden you're working out consistently and consistently. You're like, I'm feeling really good. You've made nice progress on things. Now it hasn't got us to our end result yet of like 40 pounds or whatever the goal is. However, you started that journey. That's the very beginning step, and it's one of the most important steps of the journey because now when you're starting to focus on it and you're in a place consistently that you can like always work on your other people here are working on the same things. Now you have ideas to bounce off each other. You have people to push you. People like, hey, what's that recipe you're doing? You have those like-minded people. You have to find your tribe to be able to support you on a journey, right? So this is your tribe. You need that started. So month 1, we really don't worry about too much with training. In month 1, the average person will lose about 5 pounds. That's usually from like water weight loss. It's from like getting some like fecal matter. Your body's moving a little bit better. You're starting to get some peristalsis. You're starting to poop a little bit more, right? You're starting to move things through the body a little bit more. And then a lot of our clients in their first 4 weeks get about a 2-pound muscle gain from this. That's not a consistent thing over time, but that 2 pounds is your body's starting to activate muscle groups, right? So that muscle groups, you pretty much have that muscle just has been activated, and now we're starting to instantly get that muscle activated. We're getting the neurological load going, and we got that going. So in the first month, we're having a nice switch. On the scale, you're only showing 3 pounds, right? However, you have 2 pounds of muscle gain, so that's awesome. Now we are only tracking fat loss as these are pounds of fat lost. So they lost 5 pounds of fat, gained 2 pounds of muscle. So on the scale, it's only 3 pounds. But again, we aren't worried about scale rate. We're worried about fat loss, right? Month number 2, we're going to get people into drinking half their body weight ounces. So I guess before I go any further on this, is you got to understand the reason it looks very slow. Like I could do that. I could learn all these things tomorrow. You could. I gave you the solution. If you did all these things tomorrow and never stop doing them, you'd have awesome results. But habitually, most people can only take on 1 habit at a time. And if you take on 1 habit at a time, you're 80% successful in that. As soon as you add a second habit to the plate, you instantly go to 33% success rate. That is a huge drop off rate. So what we try to do is we try to say, hey, let's quit taking on everything at once. You told me. You guys already told me 1 year is fine. I'm okay with 1 year. Cool. I designed 1 year. Don't speed up the pace. I'm telling you that you need to take it in this pace. Now, you might become an expert at something very quickly and you can move on very fast. Awesome. However, most likely you haven't hit an obstacle yet with those new habits, like a Labor Day weekend, right? Where you have to be able to keep those habits even through Labor Day, but you need to keep practicing. So, month number 2, you're drinking half a body weight ounces. So, you weigh 200 pounds, you drink 100 ounces of water. That might take you 2 or 3 weeks to get really good at doing that every single day, right? And we build out habits on how do we get ourselves to that. Again, we'll have a little bit of weight loss. We lost 2 pounds. We're not going to gain a lot of muscle every month. 0.75 in month 2 is pretty good. We're not going to gain a lot of muscle. Realistically, if we could gain a pound of muscle a month, we would be on an incredible pace. That's 12 pounds of muscle a year. Incredible. You don't even chase that goal. That's not a realistic goal for our clientele. But muscle gain is honestly way harder than fat loss. So we're going to be able to lose more amounts of fat than we'll ever be able to gain muscle at a time. However, it is important to make sure we are gaining muscle. From there, the next month, month 3, we're going to add 5 fists of fruits and or vegetables, right? So meaning like I'm going to have 3 servings of fruits a day and 2 servings of vegetables. Or 2 servings of fruits a day, 3 servings of vegetables. Only 5 fists. Realistically, if you're eating 3 times a day, that's not very much food in terms of like actual volume. But getting people to eat 5 fists of fruits and vegetables is the hardest habit we have in all of our habits. We have a lot of hard habits up in mind. That is the hardest one. I have no idea why it's so hard. That's basic, like maybe it's because of a lot of people's upbringing, their parents didn't make them eat a lot of fruits and vegetables. We gotta get that one mastered because all your micronutrients, so your vitamin A, B, D, K, all your sodiums, potassiums, all the things that literally make the body function, 90% of them are coming from that one category of carbohydrates that for the last 3 years the world's been saying don't eat carbs, just eat fats. That's why 2 years into keto, almost everybody starts to lose their hair. They don't have enough micronutrients. You can't be limited on micronutrients for too long without seeing drastic negative effects of it. It takes a while. Your body is really resilient. It has a lot of things built up. So it can go a couple of years and you'll be like, I'm fine. All of a sudden one day you're like, holy crap, what's going on? Right? So I'm pulling keto out because it's a very big diet right now. I can go through every diet style and say something in that nature of when you restrict too much on one thing, you start to negatively impact that. That's why when we go into our macronutrients, proteins, carbs, and fats, we're pretty balanced throughout all 3 categories because every single category has a function in the body and not one should be higher than the other. They should be relatively similar, right? Across the board. We'll talk about the macros here in a second. But very important to think about that. We have to keep those in. Then month 4, we're like, okay, we're doing pretty good. We need to get a little bit more movement. You only get 3 days of workouts in a month. We need to get you more active, especially if you're a person that works at a desk, you're not a laborer that's out working in the warehouse. You're going to say, we need to get more movement. Let's try to get 3 30-minute walks a week. You don't need another GCP workout. We don't need more weight training. We don't need to get more stress on the body. We actually need to de-stress a little bit because fitness is stress, guys. It's a good stress, but it's stress. It increases cortisol levels. It makes it so our body has to recover from it. It's an awesome stress. It's a needed stress. It's a very valuable stress. But you can overdo it. You really can overdo it. So walking is a very important low-level stress. Swimming would be in the same category. If you're a person that loves to swim, I don't usually put swimming out so a lot of people don't swim, but if you swim, swimming is the same category. Biking would be the same category as well. Running would not be in this category. So those 3 activities would fit in this low-stress kind of activity that we can do consistently 30 minutes 3 times a week to really increase our overall calorie burn and keep moving ourselves forward on that calorie burn. So now we're getting more burn calories. Again, see, we're getting a nice progress. We're doing really good. Those first few months, we're getting some good. Next month, month 5. We're going to add protein at every meal. This is another habit that people struggle with a little bit because they don't really know what protein is. You know, we're not just talking about meats. We're talking about eggs. We're talking about milks, or dairy in a sense. We're talking about dairies, cheeses, things of that nature. Greek yogurts. We're putting actual protein at every single meal. Protein is amazing for keeping our insulin level in check. So insulin is this awesome hormone that positively or negatively impacts weight loss, right? Get a drink, talk too quickly. Okay, so it positively or negatively impacts weight loss, but it has to be there. People talk about controlling your insulin levels. That's why they have low glycemic, high glycemic foods, things of that nature. Realistically, if it's low glycemic or high glycemic, it really means nothing if you choose to eat protein at the same time. So let's say I'm going to have an apple as a snack. You could have an apple with almond butter. You could have an apple with Greek yogurt. I could have maybe a protein bar while having an apple. That'll keep my insulin level level. Perfect. That's what we want to keep. I don't want it to be low. I don't want it to be high. I want it to be level all day long. The more I keep it level, the better my body utilizes fat. And the key, we're only worried about fat because we're trying to get rid of this adipose tissue as well as the visceral tissue. So there's two types of fat. Adipose fat, that's usually like the lung handle kind of area, the stuff you can see, right? And there's visceral fat. Visceral fat is, a good example would be most guys. Most guys will be right, the big belly, right? We got this big belly out here. The bigger their belly is, and like if they don't have much for belly fat or side fat, they have a lot of visceral fat. Visceral fat's the stuff that's covering the organs. That's the really dangerous stuff. This stuff isn't great for you. However, at the same time, like, it doesn't mean you're going to die. No offense, I don't want to scare you. But like, the more visceral fat you have, the better chance you have for heart attacks and serious things. That's why when you do measurements, we measure men, specifically usually men, if their waist is bigger than their hips, they're at a very high level of heart disease. Okay? So we need to keep that down. This kind of position, we've got to get it back down to equal to that because we have a lot of visceral fat. You'll see a lot of guys that will be, we call it the beer belly. They don't have much actual adipose tissue, but they have a lot of fat covering the organs, right? It's more common in men than it is in women. So we have to be careful. There's different types of fat. We have to be very conscious of that kind of fat. So with protein at every meal, we're trying to really keep that consistent. We see this month, we had a +2 month, right? That loss is not linear. Meaning like, day one we start here, 40 pounds later. Not linear by any means. Any of you guys have ever been on a nice journey, it's like, all the way down, up, down, right? If I drew a map on this thing right here, you would just be crazy. You'd be like, you'd be all over the place. It's not linear by any stretch. I'm making this almost look more linear than it actually is. This is actually my numbers from when I lost 50 pounds of fat a couple of years ago before I had a horrible sciatica issue and it kind of sent me backwards. So this is my exact numbers of how it happened along that journey. And so you can see it wasn't linear by any means. I had a month where it went up 2 pounds. It's going to happen to everybody. You're not going to have a perfect month every single time. And these are months, these aren't weeks, right? So there's 52 weeks in a year. There's only 12 months. There's like a 4 extra week period that kind of pops inside of this. So like certain months, you might have a bigger weight loss because you have an extra week inside of that month kind of time. So moving there 2 pounds, 1 pound, but I gained a pound of muscle during that time too. So I may have gained some body fat, but I gained some muscle during that time as well. So protein every meal. Then from there we're going to go to eat smaller plates. Right? Now I'm starting to really add these habits in. I'm working my way through this habitual idea. I'm making some nice, good results. We've changed so far 5, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 pounds of body fat, and I've gained a few pounds of muscle at the same time, probably about 4 pounds of muscle at the same time, right? So maybe on the scale it only looks like 9 pounds, but I can feel my clothes fit really good right now. They're fitting really nice. It's getting better and better. That's really important to know as we come along there. I'm just making, I would call them very small changes. These aren't huge changes. I didn't ask you to follow this perfect diet, perfect meal plan that you have to follow every day, but it's starting to make nice change. From there, we're going to eat smaller plates. We're going to start tracking our food in MyFitnessPal after that. So I'm not even asking you to track at this point. I'm just saying, let's do the basics. Now we start tracking, start to see where the foods are maybe getting out of control of. And we're not even tracking macros. So macros are your proteins, your carbs, and fats. We're not even tracking those yet. We're just saying, hey, let's go ahead and start seeing what food you're putting into your diet. From there, month 8, now we're really, okay, we know what food to put in our diet. We've got these really good habits created. Now let's go ahead and start meal prepping for the week, so you start hitting on those days that you're really struggling with, right? So you have 2 days a week I'm really struggling. Now let's start meal prepping, make sure those days aren't as bad as they once were, or we're getting better at it. We're just continuing to lose weight, right? Meal prepping usually does a pretty good job of helping people lose a lot of weight. Then all of a sudden, now we're eating out only 1 time a week. So we're, again, this plan is not for everybody. Meaning, like, if you're somebody that doesn't eat out at all, this one not for me. Or if you're somebody that eats out 4 times a week, I might need to move this guy up a little bit farther because it might be what we call the lowest hanging fruit. The thing that's like so drastic, like if you cut that out, it's going to be a huge change for you. If you're somebody that drinks alcohol every single night, that's the lowest hanging fruit. But we got to get that down to 1 time a week. Kind of idea. That really helps us out. Protein. Now all of a sudden we're going to actually focus on 1 macro and make sure that it is 30% of our diet. That's where you have to be using a MyFitnessPal, Lose It, apps of that nature. You have to be doing that inside of there, tracking that 30%, trying to hit that protein level every single day, because protein is the key macro for fat loss. Meaning it's always 30%, and if you hit it every day, you have a better chance to lose fat. If it's ever below that point, you have that day you have probably less likely to lose fat on that day than you would be on a day where you hit 30%. Okay? Now we're moving to sleep. We're getting 7 hours in bed before our alarm, and then in 1 year, we've really only added simple things all year long. And the last one, we eliminate artificial sugars, which is a pretty big category. That's getting kind of tough in that category there. But that means we're moving our way towards just pure, whole, real foods, right? Moving ourselves, making sure that we're not getting a lot of processed crap into our diet. So let's go back to raise our hand real quick. Raise your hand if that seemed really, really hard to do that whole year. Raise your hand if it's like, oh my God, I can't do that. Perfect, right? Like that's, go ahead.
All of them was just 7 hours of sleep.
Well, yeah, it might be one of them. Yeah, one of them might be tough, right? It might be challenging for you. However, like the idea, like you look at it, wasn't a hard layout, right? I wasn't like, hey, here's that exact meal plan to do. Follow it to a T, and you'll lose weight. And I guarantee if I gave you an exact meal plan and you followed it to a T, you would lose weight. Only issue is it takes extreme discipline. Once you're off that meal plan, you don't have a clue how to eat anymore. You don't even know, like, what do? I don't know how to eat. Example was I did ideal protein years ago. It was a great diet, I lost a lot of weight on it. The only obstacle was it didn't teach you a single thing about eating, right? And so when I got done with that, my habits were absolutely horrible because all I knew was exactly if I follow this meal plan, I'll lose weight. But if I don't follow this meal plan, I'm screwed because I just know that this meal plan works. Nothing else doesn't. So that taught me a big lesson about the idea of like extremes, right? The more extreme we become with a diet, the harder it is to maintain for a lifetime. And we have to create a lifetime of eating because however old you are right now, however long you have until you die, nutrition is going to be every second of every day, right? What we're talking about here is never going away. Aaron, you're the youngest person in here. For the next 60 to 70 years, every single day you're going to think about your food. For 70 more years you have about to think about that. Some of us don't have as much time as that. We don't have 70 years left in our thing. However, right? I'm trying to make these live longer here, George. However, conceptually, a lot of people come in with like, I just want to learn that so I can lose my weight and move on from worrying about it. I'm sorry, guys, you'll never move on. You can never move on from nutrition. You can never move on from fitness. Not that it has to be your obsession, right? But it has to be part of your life because as soon as those things aren't, these lifestyle habits, these 5 pillars aren't part of your life, the weight will come back on. It's a journey that we're battling more now in human history than ever because our lifestyles aren't the same as they were 40 years ago when we were working on farms, 60 years ago when everybody had a manual labor job, right? Nothing longer than that now. Maybe 80 years ago, everybody had a manual labor job. You burn a ton of calories, you didn't have to worry about it. Our lifestyles require health, and require us to focus on it because the world is set up for us to fail health and fitness wise. Food companies out there do not give a crap that their food is killing you. They don't care. They're making billions of dollars. They don't care that that stuff is negatively impacting you. The FDA honestly doesn't give a crap. They might say they do, but they do not give a crap about what's good. If they did, most of the foods on the shelf right now would never be fed to kids. Because kids learn their habits from the ages of 6 to 12 years old, and that's when every single ad that's put on TV for kids is a sugar-based product, right? That's when they develop their habits. Those people are intelligent. They know how people develop habits, and they build their entire industry around it. If you're talking about the evils in the world, the nutrition companies are the evils of the world. They are literally causing the fall of society, and the only way to fight back is we have to focus on it. Unfortunately, for us, we have to focus on it every day for the rest of our lives, fighting what's going ugly. That's my big soapbox thing. Like I think that nobody sets us up for success, so we have to take control of ourselves, and we have to keep fighting against the knowledge of that. But when you look at this the whole year, this person started at 180 pounds. This is not my, those aren't my, this is just stats. But 180, that person ended at 148 pounds, right? So they lost 40 pounds of muscle. They lost 40 pounds of fat during that year, but gained 8 pounds of muscle. So even though what didn't show up 40 pounds on the scale, they ended up with 40 pounds fat loss, 8 pounds of muscle, right? So pretty awesome. That is a doable thing. As you see up in the corner, this is 180 pounds. This is actually how I lost the weight during the year. However, that's 180 pound female. So I wanted to make sure I went through an actual logistical thing that had stats on all year long. That's why I chose it. Okay, so next part we're going to talk about is Keystone Habits based on our pillars of fat loss. So we talked about our 5 pillars already. So if you guys have ever heard of Keystone Habits are the baseline habit that can make the most drastic change. If I have these as a habit that I focus on every single day, I will have the largest impact. Everything could be a habit. There's numerous things that could be a habit. But if you keep these basic things as your underlying conceptual side of a habit, they will change your life consistently. So I broke them into 5 pillars, because I do find that the 5 pillars are important. So before we start anything with nutrition, I want to talk about our nutrition mantra, right? Eat real foods. It's actually, I wrote this wrong. It's actually eat real foods, mostly plants, not too much. So every single time you look at your meal plate, this is a thing to keep in mind every single time, every place you go. I look at my plate, I have a plate in front of me. First thing I look at is, am I eating real foods? Is there anything on this plate that's processed? You can, I promise you, if you have to ask me a question if it's a real food or not, it's not a real food. It's simple. That's the simplest thing I can say. If you have to ask me if it's a real food, it is not a real food. So eat real foods. Look at your plate first. Is it real foods? The second thing you want to look at, is it mostly plants? So is 2/3 of my plate fruits or vegetables? You can throw legumes into that category, so beans can be in that category. Potatoes, starches would be in that category a little bit too. Now I don't want the whole plate to be starches. That's not what I'm talking about. However, like the idea is like, is it mostly a vegetable, fruit, something in that category?